IVM.
All right. It's the beginning of a new week, and I know I'm very annoying at the beginning. One of those rare people in Bombay that like I'm actually like a morning person and a Monday person. Like I really piss people, piss the fuck out of people. Yeah. So I'm like an all out. Like I woke up and I worked out, made my. One thing I've been getting into, and I hate coffee, like hot drinks and coffee. But one thing I've really been getting into is like cold brews, like thanda coffee basically. And so I made my big mug of chilled coffee, and I
don't know.
good.
I'm a little jealous that you can still enjoy. I love coffee, but I've reached a point, not only in this pandemic, but pre-pandemic, like I cannot have even a sip of coffee. It just immediately, I feel jittery and anxious.
Oh, like that. Day. It's, nothing has done that for me. I can have like 10 Red Bulls and I'll still sleep the night off. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just...
And I'm one of those people who's done Charlie and fallen asleep with coffee. Oh my God. You know what I mean. But
I really don't. I'm really a novice when it comes to this shit.
Charlie is slang for Coca-Cola.
Really?
No, wait. I can't say this shit on air. Fuck it.
Okay,
and it's
fine,
not like I'm an active...
Got it. Let people connect the dots. I think I know where you're going.
Yeah, but now I feel like I have to justify that, it's like once a year,
right.
I've done it in the past, but I've fallen asleep. But coffee, recently, my friends, means a couple of months ago, my friend managed to get Coffee Bite. You remember Coffee Bite?
Oh my God, yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, I've not had these since school. So I ate 20 of those. And
oh shit.
Even that made me a little jittery. Even though I'm convinced there was no caffeine in it.
When I was in school, the holy trinity of lozenges was Coffee Bite, Rola Cola, and Poppins. I'm forgetting Mango Bite.
I was going to say mine was Mango Bite, Rola Cola, and Swad. If you remember Swad.
Hello, Swad. You know what? I still order, those 500 pack
giant
jars of Swad.
Dude, I get it from Grant Road. You get them on Amazon?
I get it from Amazon, yeah.
You have saved my life. I'm buying one.
Oh my God, you get Hajmola candy, you get Rola Cola, you get this thing, Phantom cigarettes, you get everything on Amazon. Not
okay,
now,
tell me your favorite Hajmola flavor.
Please, Imli, any day.
I'm Anardana.
Oh, that is, no, you're talking about the jar wala thing, not the candy.
No, candy, Anardana. Okay, it doesn't come in. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there is the pet kharab wala Hajmola, and then there is the really hard sugar candy.
Fun Hajmola.
Yeah. Wow, that's a start to the day. All right.
I guess we'll just dive. Yeah, we'll just dive straight into it. First of all, shout out to Anurag, one of our most avid listeners. He has suggested a great topic. It's something we've never touched upon. He wanted to just know... he just wanted to know what we think about where religion fits into the community, as in we wouldn't speak for the community, but what our relationship
at least our
with God
experiences
is.
are.
Yeah, what our relationship with God is, if we believe in God at all. And just in general, something that's a starting point where we can at least...
Yeah. Let's get into it.
I don't know where to get into it because...
What kind of relationship do you share? Have you been ever religious or not? What's your take on it?
I felt like till I was a teenager, I was religious. Is there something like a convenient religious person? Means I had no belief in God or anything, but oh my God, I'm exam ka time hai, so suddenly there is a God in my life. You know what I mean? Please God, if you do this for me, then I will this. Please God, if you this, so the only time God made an appearance for the first 20 years of my life was when I really wanted something, basically. But no. I want you to go on this, because I really wouldn't know what to say, because I'm Parsi. So in a lot of ways, I'm proud. Proud as in, like, I like the fact that I'm Parsi. I'll get into it why later on. But God, I don't know. I really feel like it's all random. I'm all science, Big Bang Theory. Everything is random. Like yesterday, I saw a video of Bretman Rock. Do you know Bretman Rock?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bretman Rock interviewing Sushmita Sen. You know what I saw video. Yeah, and I'm like, how does this happen? How do these two people meet? At what point? And it's so random that I see things like this and I'm like, there is no God. Everything is random. But what about you? Do you have like an internal
So I have a
monologue?
I wouldn't I think if I call it complex, it's giving it too much, giving myself too much credit. But I have an interesting relationship with religion. So I'm not religion in this, I'm not, religion adjacent in the sense of, following rules, following it as an edict. For me, however, the concept of a higher power, the concept of a God, the concept of someone to, and you can debate it, you can debase it, you can do whatever. But I've always found strength in this this entity, this invisible, colorless, genderless entity that I find assurance and sort of comfort in. And I've had conversations forever with that entity, and it's been a very, very fruitful conversation always, because there is there is a to and fro, and the reason I say it's very interesting and why I was about to say it's complicated is because, and this might be controversial when I say this, but I feel like this entity also needs me. You know what I mean?
Of course.
And this is something, that's why American Gods is one of the best books I've read, which basically thrives upon the fact that gods won't exist if people don't believe in them.
Yeah.
And the way we kind of get sustenance in a very spiritual manner from the existence of this power, that power gets sustenance from the existence of belief. So I feel there is like this symbiotic relationship, and I know there can be so many people who will call this like a lot of mumbo jumbo, but
no, that's actually, I'm like, that's so elegantly put. Like, it's beautiful.
So I feel like there is a symbiotic relationship between me and this, and obviously this entity is a slightly higher entity because they. And I really use the term they because of the genderlessness of this entity, because they kind of have granted me power and strength in times when I really felt like I am cornered. So that's the start of it. That's how I'll get into the history and how I've like traversed this journey later, but as we sort of uncover this, but and whenever someone asks me what my religion is, I find that very problematic because I actually love the mythos behind Hinduism, and I'm a born Hindu, but there is just like, I find every religion so interesting, and till the moment they say you should. That's where I kind of draw the line. So what about you in terms of, have you were you
for the longest time till I used to say this higher power stuff too, but when my solid wave of bipolar hit me, I remember starting to question whether, hey, is this just, again, I don't mean to like mix mental illnesses, and I know what I'm about to say is more leaning towards schizophrenia and stuff, but I did have a lot of voices in my head telling me a lot of things all the time. You know what I mean? And somewhere during therapy, going through medication, I started questioning if God is just another voice I've developed in my head as a voice that balances me out or chooses a moral route that is established in the world order. I don't know if I'm trying to be too meta by saying this. Like, let's say I know I'm not supposed to kick a dog on the road. You know what I mean? I naturally know that I'm not supposed to murder someone. I know I'm naturally not supposed to. And I felt like that's where the voice... Oh, shit. I don't know if I'm sounding scary. I don't mean to sound scary, but you know what I mean? I started to feel like, hey, maybe what I think God is and this person I talk to, maybe he or she is just another voice in my head to always keep me level, which is a good thing. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't want to be a person who suddenly kicks a dog on the road. Yeah. And in fact, I remember a very famous, one of my all-time favorite books is called God is Dead by Osho, which unfortunately I read when I was 12. I've spoken to you before about how my parents were Oshoites for a while in the early 90s. So suddenly there were all these Osho books in my house, and one of them was called God is Dead. And that book radically made me, like, not grow up, but suddenly made me entirely shave off this whole religious shame, guilt, sinning side that you're sort of taught as a kid. You know what I mean? You are taught that you're not supposed to say bad words. You're not supposed to this. You're not supposed to that, you know? So in that sense, I felt like I started seeing God as a crutch for a majority of my life. And then in that sense, when I felt like that higher power that I believed in, I started changing that into, I started believing in higher energies. Again, I feel I'm sounding so meta. But for example, my cat fell ill recently. Now, I can be a realist. Sorry, I digressed. What I was saying is, Osho had a very famous saying that in the absence of God, what are you free to do? Basically, today, if I don't have God in my life, that means I'm free to do anything, right? I don't have a compass that tells me that, okay, this is the plane you're supposed to exist in, which is good more often than not. I just felt like over the years, I started believing in higher energies in terms of like attracting the right kind of energies, putting out the right kind of energies. Because again, when my cat fell ill, the first couple of times I was a total realist. I'm one of those people who immediately, even though my cat is young, I had to immediately come to terms with the fact that, oh shit, he's going to die. And that I need to prepare myself. When someone else, when all my friends would talk to me in that phase, they would be like, don't be silly, have faith, have hope and all of that. And I'm like, I'm incapable at this age to come up with faith and hope and you know what I mean? But every time my cat would get better and he would fall ill again, every time he would get better, fall ill again, I was like, you know what, I'm still going to be a realist about it. But after that, I started putting out that energy that, you know what, it is going to be fine. It is going to be fine. So in that tiny sliver is where I feel my belief in something higher exists, you know?
So what did your parents teach you in terms of God or religion? What was that like teaching that? Because we are all handed out this like dump of, you know, what God is, what religion is, right? When we are growing up. What was your experience?
I'm just going to talk about my personal experience. I grew up Zoroastrian, Parsi. So I really feel in terms of, I don't want to say progressiveness, but it is not a restricting religion in any way. You know what I mean? Today,
I don't mean in that way, in the sense that, see, there can be religions, but then there are families that adapt religions in their own way.
Sure, but
what was your personal...
It was pretty simple because the tenets of Zoroastrianism is basic. Good thoughts, good words, good deeds. These are the three things that you believe in. There is nothing about no having alcohol, no eating meat, no this, no that, you know, none of that. So I just felt it naturally had some sort of... So I felt like I had it easier in that sense. There wasn't this constant guilt of, oh, you need to temple, you need to this, you need to pray, I never had that. So I might not be the right person to ask this, because I just feel like I come from a lax religion, if I can. It's chilled out. It's a little chilled out in that sense. So much so that making merriment and like having a good time and all is a huge part of as long as you don't smoke. That's a big no-no. Smoking is a big no-no because we worship fire. So smoking is heavily, and it's again, that's not in scripture, but again, because we worship fire over centuries,
don't abuse it.
Yeah, it's come down to, hey, just don't smoke because, you don't want to disrespect fire. Tell me something though, like, if you shut your eyes and you say higher power, do you have a vision or a visual of?
No, I don't. That's what I was saying. That this entity is a colorless. It's like air. It's like, it's around me. There is no. There's no form. It takes. It's like it's a feeling, and. That's, I think, the best way for me to describe it.
But were your parents a little like, hey,
oh my God. Okay.
When was the last time you were at a temple?
Okay, 1 second. So I'm a Hindu. On top of that, I'm a Brahmin. And so there are a lot of things which so I've come, let me just rewind a little bit. My family... my family experience has been a very confused experience because both my parents, they moved out of their very strong joint family, conservative family setups to move away, and it was a love marriage, to move away and live by themselves in a nuclear setup, and they were one of the first people in their family to have done, in their respective families, from their respective families, to have done that, to not be living with their larger families. Now, from the stories I hear, both my mom and dad, when they were sort of dating, and obviously the early years of my brother and me, they were pretty out there in terms of like fuck religion, like because so they would do just like any kind of religion which is all about bringing community together. They were okay with, but most of the do's and don'ts were kind of not okay with them. So as I grew up, I kind of saw. I used to see media portrayals and my friends families where the woman of the house used to keep the religious fervor intact. And in contrast, I would see my mom being like, fuck this shit. Like, she's never done a puja in her life. Like, she would partake in it, like when someone else would call for it, and she would be like, she would never disrespect it, but she wouldn't be like, Om Jai Jagdish Hare, and in front of the altar, so to say. So, and plus, she had a particular, like, she would celebrate the joy of festivals. Like, the joy is what she believed in. So Christmas was joy. Durga Puja was joy. It wasn't about the devotion and the penance and all of that. So I grew up seeing that, and then suddenly what happened was, obviously, when you grow up, there is this ceremony called the thread ceremony for Brahmins, and I grew up, and that year sort of, I found, I was told to do 10,000 things here and there. And I remember when my father, I don't know what happened to him, he started kind of re-assimilating into this sense of religion by that time. And he started saying things like, you should sit and pray, you should do this and that. And suddenly, we would eat, like that time when we were growing up, we were Hindus who ate beef, and, that time. And he would just be like, I remember there was this one incident where we got beef home, and my dad was like, after you eat, I'm going to sprinkle Ganga Jal on this table. and not even as a joke. And my mom just lost it. So I kind of started scoffing at that idea of, religion and all of that. And since then, and then I remember later on in college, this was, so one of my friends got into an argument with me, and I kind of remember how much sense I saw in it. And she was like, why is Brahmanism, like she was talking against, the idea of Brahmanism. And I was like, big shit.
Sorry, this was your mom?
No, this is my friend in college.
Okay.
So I'm talking about like how culmination of all these experiences kind of got me thinking about what's the point of religion.
Larger life concepts. Yeah.
So she was talking about Brahmanism and how like how debasing it is for when it comes to women. And I was like, is it really? Because it's tradition. And she was like, why you are saying that? Because you're a man, you're allowed to have a sacred thread ceremony. And I was like, I'm allowed to have a sacred thread ceremony because I'm allowed to. I mean, boys do it, girls don't. And then she was like, why can't girls have it? Like, and I was like, well, would you want to? Because you're supposed to shave your head and this and that. So she was like, I'll shave my head, big shit. And then in my head I was like, oh fuck, all of this is a gender construct. All of this is meant to keep some people in line and some people, trapped. And since then, I kind of reassimilated my thoughts, and I was just like, I'll make my own version of this, where I have this thing called faith. I have this thing called a deeper connect. Everything that says you should without any actual proof through that. Yeah.
I get what you see. Again, I can't help but draw this. Like you said, it's a gender construct. Now, again, I felt like I did not have those sort of things that because in Parsis, again, both boys and girls have a thread ceremony. We all have a Navjot, it's called. But I just felt like I was never pushed or made to think about. And this is coming from so in Parsis, there's a thing called Navar. Navar means that only men can do actually. So I shouldn't be too quick to say that, it's not a gender construct. But Navar, basically you can become a priest, a high priest, only if you go through this Navar thing. And my brother and my father both are. Even though they are the least religious people I know. They don't go to the temple. They don't, none of that shit, Speaking of temple, can I just share a random moment? A great experience I had. So there was this time, this is years I've not been to the fire temple anyways and all of that. And I was going through a really rough time towards the ending of college. I remember I was in a three-way situation where I was in love with a boy and a girl, and then they both started dating, and I suddenly felt left out. So I was very agitated. On top of that, a lot of mental shit was starting to surface for the first time in my life. So it was a rough time. And one day I just decided to sit on my bike and go to the fire temple. And since a lot of people have non-Parsis are not allowed in fire temples, I will tell you what happens. There's a huge flame in every fire temple. And there are no bells, there is no loud praying, there is nothing. So I just sat in the temple, and all I could hear for an hour was this intense crackling of a flame. And you know what happens when you listen to like rain for too long or fire too long? I started getting looped into it in like a very what's the term? These binaural
like
beats. Type of way. I got very looped in, and I started feeling this immense release. Like suddenly, like I started feeling very like emotional, and it was just literally, it was only the crackling of fire and the sweet smell of burning sandalwood that did it for me, because it was pin drop silence, and I just burst out crying. And I literally, if I had to say, that was my last religious experience. And I'm saying this is in 2001 maybe, where I just like, left that fire temple feeling amazing. And that was the last time I felt like, oh, I get there is something bigger than me. I did not talk to any god. I did not like have any internal monologue or anything of that sort. It was just the act of sitting down and listening to a fire for an hour that just did it to me. So I guess basically I accidentally meditated, I guess, like without knowing it.
No, so that's the thing, if I had to put a pin on it and say what my religious experience and my religious belief is, it's transcendental. It's just that. It's not about forms and entities. It's just about feelings and vibes. Very similar, to your experience, and some of my most peaceful. So here's the thing, coming to temples, I think that this place of worship concept is again something that kind of
done.
Because for me, I've always been a bit of a problem child when it comes to being told to do something, and right from childhood it was like I can only imagine, I'd never want a kid like myself. Like, oh my god, like he literally does everything opposite, like, curious cat.
Sorry, you just said you don't want a kid who is you.
Yeah, like if I ever have a child, I would never want someone like me. Like, oh my god, I'd be so difficult. So so whenever I kind of made up my mind pretty early that particularly to my religion, and this is not about other religions, my religion, the place of worship, for me, place of worship is supposed to be a place which, gives you peace, which brings you to a point of, harmony. Have you seen Hindu temples?
Oh my God, yeah.
So it's crowded and sure, a lot of people find their moment there, and it's, they find their beauty in that moment, and sure, they find that ritual. I think everyone finds that experience through different things. For me, it has to do with, something that allows me to center myself. And for me, that place of worship was just not doing it. So every single place of worship I had been to, it used to disturb me. It used to, because there was so much clamor.
Yeah.
Until...
Isn't this in that Paresh Rawal movie, the famous, oh my God. I remember in that he touches where the temple is within you. Because if an external temple, why are there beggars and hawkers all around it if God is so strong in that one spot? You know what I mean?
No, and I realized that it's really not about a single religion. And I also realized that sometimes religion can give you peace when, again, I was 2 college experiences that I had. I studied in Xavier's in Calcutta, undergrad. And very close to my college, and a lot of people, anyone who's from Calcutta would know this. There's a church very close to, and not not the church in my college, but there was a church in one of those alleyways near the back gate of my college, where a couple of friends, we would go there, and particularly my second year and my third year, my second year where I used to be very active when it came to choir practice. So by the time I would get over, from college, it would be evening. So I'd buy a candle and I would go there, and it would be pin drop silence, and I would just light a candle and put it on the altar. And so first I thought, so maybe the Christian place of worship has a little more peace. But I found that same moment of peace and transcendental sort of feeling when I went to Hampi and the Virupaksha temple, basically. So there is a flight of stairs adjacent to the large temple, which leads you to like this hilltop of sorts. And you can see the temple, you can see the various carvings, you can see the effigies, whatever. And I remember going there. This was like a couple of years later when I was 21, I think 21, 22. A couple of years later. And I felt exactly what you said. There was just the sound of fires crackling, the sound of just, the temple bells, and there was no noise. There was silence.
Yeah.
And there was wind. And at that moment, I could see the sun set in front of me. And I just had, I didn't even realize, like 5 minutes into it, I realized I had tears streaming down my face.
Oof.
And it's just...
Basically, God is silence. Like
God is silence. And it doesn't matter what religion and where, as long as there is silence, I'll find that
But
God.
that's the thing. No, you can't. Today, I live on a junction in Khar, where I don't have a church near me, but I have a mosque on one side and I have a temple. And dude, again, I know this is a hotly debated topic, but a lot of times the cacophony, if that's the right word, or the just how loud it gets, sometimes, and sometimes it's a visible like fight, like, the azan starts, so these guys start clanging the bells, and then the azan gets louder and they clang the bells louder. And I'm just like, again, coming from this is in no way am I saying, oh wow, Zoroastrianism is amazing, because first things off the bat, I am not like religious in that sense. I'm not saying, oh, my dick is bigger than your dick in any way, but I just felt like I constantly find myself questioning that this is so pointless. Why can't these people find a more a nicer way to connect with, and I'm sure they are feeling exactly what we are feeling, right? They also believe in a higher power, if you think about it. If today we both are saying that, we believe in a higher power, sure, they've put a face on it, they've put a establishment to it, they've put garlands around it, and to them also, but in the end, the crux is the same, which is they also believe in a higher power. Yeah. I just feel like it wasn't like done on display or audibly. I don't know if that makes any sense. And, and here's the deal. A lot of times I've also felt like when it boils down to scripture, now I'm not like I've not done a PhD in any of this, you know what I mean? But I do feel like, this is my hypothesis alone doing this, but like, for example, I have Christian friends who are gay, and matters like coming out to their family or being gay itself, suddenly it's tenfold because of how strongly it is criticized by their scripture. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, no man should lie with another man, you're sinning. And then what happens a lot of times is, when I see it as a problem, because what happens with a lot of times, there's so much shame that is instilled in you. There's so much like fear of sinning and this and all that's instilled in you, that suddenly when you're of an age where you are free to do things, let's say you're a gay man who's free. A lot of my Christian friends have had to go through this whole drill of high fun and barebacking and all of that, only because of the amount of shame they have compounded over the years. You know what I mean?
So has your sexual identity ever been at odds with your, I wouldn't even say religious, but cultural identity?
You know what? I'm going to pose a different question to you instead. Like, at any point do you feel, as you grew aware more and more of your sexuality, do you feel like there was any clash or conflict or conversation within you with the with the lens of religion on it? Like, how did you?
So here's the thing. When I was in college, I majored in sociology and anthropology. So my thesis was religion and attitudes towards sexuality. And as part of that, I did an in-depth study of Hebrew mythology, Egyptian mythology, Hindu mythology. What came out of it was that it's people who make the, put the rules up, because mythology in a sense has never had any issue with anything at all. And if anyone, so that's when I started growing my wings of, you tell me what I am is not okay. I will challenge you on that, because I've fucking written a paper on this. So, for example, there are so many, Hinduism is very conflicted when it comes to that, because there are so many instances where women have been wronged in terms of like the mythology itself, but then there are so many instances where women are the power. Then there are so many instances where gender is almost a scale, a fluid scale, and it's like a construct. It's a fluid construct where people sort of sift in and out, and there are entities who keep switching their genders, divine entities who keep switching their gender. So it's incredibly confusing. So that's when I kind of wrap my head around the fact that if there is this large sort of body of work and beliefs that is so confused by, in itself and can't make up its mind, I'm not going to let that dictate anything that I do and anything that I am about. And I was ostensibly, into women at that point of time. But I was very open with my then partner we were very open about how, we used to talk about the same women and men we were attracted to. So we were both very, very, forward when it came to that. So in a sense, it never dawned upon, I never let it come to a point where, and I know it might sound like, oh my God, this guy is talking like he has so much power and all of that. But it was very important for me to not let any of that affect me. And that kind of also, because I would see a lot of things in terms of behavior from my family that time, that kind of estranged me from them in a big way, because I stopped seeing the good in them, because I started seeing how nasty some of their beliefs could be. And so because, at the end of the day, it's really not, you can't really blame religion. You have to, you really have to blame people on how they interpret religion, because if you're using it to curb someone, if you're using it to spread hate, if you're using it to hurt someone, then you're a shitty person. And I saw that they my family could be shitty people. And
sometimes I just feel like telling someone that, hey, your entire life will be, not entire life, but such a huge part of your life will be spent you hating yourself, you not being okay with yourself. So the last thing you need is a religion also that does that. You know what I mean?
Oh my God,
that fucking hates you for just you being
like
you.
Out of no choice. Like, you have really no choice. You are who you are, and suddenly your religion, which is supposed to be your moral compass, so to say, is just saying you are not enough. You're not good enough. You're just like, you'll never be good enough. And that kind of made me realize that this is all bullshit. And like, I had my moments of crisis where I would think, oh, so now things will turn around for me and only bad things will happen to me. I had those, by the way. But then I realized that fuck that. It's really not. I mean, that's just how we are taught, because we are taught to feel fear, if you don't follow these edicts. So it's just fear management. When you set your focus and say,
I can think of a micro moment from my life. I won't say sucked, but I kissed my first dick when I was 8. Okay, me and my friend fooled around when we were around 8 or 9. Okay, and because we were kids, I remember. Okay, I'll give you a quick context. Basically, he had broken his hand. Okay, and I was not well, so we both were the only ones who had not gone to school, and all our friends had gone to school. So we were like kings of summer, running around our entire colony during the day, whatever. Yeah. And we somehow fooled around that day. And in the evening, when our friends had come back from school and we all were playing cricket, we were kids, right? So we told everyone that, hey, today me and this guy we fooled around and we did this to each other. And suddenly all our friends, like, oh my God, we are going to tell your parents and all of that. They immediately flipped that switch on us. Okay. And I remember in that one moment, what happened, my friend who I'd fooled around with, he was petrified. And I remember specifically, he started praying and he started, no, please don't, and all of that. And he started praying all the time. And I was constantly confused by his behavior because I was like, go tell my parents, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm not going to be scared about this. I just had fun, you know what I mean? So it was a great revealing moment to me, not only who I was as a person even then, as a child, even then, and where I did not feel any guilt. Oh my God. See, exactly. Oh my God. Like, oh, God is not watching me or feeling bad that I did this. So I did not. But seeing my friend go through that, I instantly felt how maybe I have it easier just because, again, I was born Parsi and and that's the thing. A lot of times what happens is, and these are common things in Parsis, like we see it very often, even as growing up. Number one, two aunties living together, because that's such a common thing in Parsis. I'm sure it happens in other communities too, but it is super common in Parsis where either the husbands are not in the picture and now these two aunties live together. I can, off the top of my head, think of three pairs of three couples. What's the right this? Three pairs of aunties.
Got it, yeah.
Yeah, who while growing up, I knew who were it just made me question, where are their husbands and why do these two old ladies live together? Now, maybe they were just companions. Maybe their husbands popped it and they just decided to live together. I don't know the reality behind it, but I'm saying it was quite commonplace to see this, where in a world where when you're a kid, a man and a woman get married and then they have children. It was different to see this dynamic. Oh, there are these two aunties that live together. That's very common in Parsis. That was one. Secondly, even till date, I know so many grown ass, like I'm saying 35, 40-year-old boys who live with their moms. It's and I don't mean that in a mocking sense at all. They love their mothers love them, they're out to their moms and they just live with their mom. You know what I mean? That is another thing, right? Since I was a kid, it was so common to see within the community. I felt like it was, I recently was reading an article about I'm forgetting his name. Riyadh. His name was Riyadh. He was a director, a film director, and he made the short film called Bomb Gay. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Riyadh Sindhi
Riyadh Vadia. Riyadh Vinci Vadia. Yeah, Riyadh Vinci Vadia.
Vinci
who made Bomb
Vadia,
Gay. I was recently reading an interview of his mother. And it was such a beautiful interview. She was like, what is there to accept? There is nothing to accept. He is the way he is, and I love him regardless, I'm just bullet pointing the entire interview in but that was the crux of it. And he was I saw that short film very recently and I was blown away by it, that someone back then was already, he was Parsi, by the way. You know what I mean? So I always felt like it's not something, today I can tell you, I have uncles who are either openly or they've never actually had to come out, but everybody knows. And it's not like you're teased or you are this is just accepted within the community largely. And I don't want to belittle my Parsi friends who are closeted and are stressed out. There are Parsi boys who are like, holy shit, how the fuck am I going to come out to my family? But that I just feel is a human experience more than it coming from a place of, oh my God, my parents are religious, I can't tell them this. I feel it's just a acceptance issue more than a religious issue for them. So in a lot of ways, I can't help but thank myself that I was born in this particular community. And can I tell you something? Now I'm going to sound extremely stupid while I say this, but there are so many times, Sunetro, when I'm on Grindr and someone assumes that I'm Muslim because of my name, Farhad. And then when they ask me, are you Muslim? I'm like, no, actually I'm Parsi. There's always a sudden, oh, nice. You know what I mean? Oh, I always... And
why endangered species?
I have always joked about this. But my joke is...
I have a very close friend who's colleague and friend who's Parsi, and we keep making this joke that endangered species don't get sick. Yeah,
see, there you go. See, again, if someone is stressed out within my community to come out to their parents because there's that kind of pressure on them. You know what I mean? To get married only because, our community is dwindling. Again, this is a thing of the past. I would have said in the 90s, it was maybe slightly strong in the 80s. It was very strong to get married and stuff. But because the community is dwindling, so somehow it's on your shoulders to procreate and like, whatever. So in that sense, I get it. If my friends still feel terrified, not terrified, nobody is terrified, but sure, they feel like, oh my God, how am I going to come out to my parents? But I know for them, it's a matter of now is not the right time. It's not oh shit, my parents are hyper conservative, hyper religious, they're going to kill me. It's not that. And again, what I was trying to say is, I joke about this so many times, but I'm literally not kidding, Sunetro. The number of times I've said that, when you say your Parsi, your chances of getting laid get higher suddenly. There's some sort of like primo real estate type vibe on. I know how I sound when I'm saying all of this, but I guarantee you there are so many times, oh, you're Parsi. Wow. I have one Parsi friend. I always hear that. I have one Parsi friend. And I'm like, okay, so what? Like, it does work out for me in that sense. But again, I feel like if this conversation is more about religion and God, I feel like I'm straying from it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't feel I was bound. I also feel it has a lot to do with who I was as an individual my entire life, and I'm sure.
So the thing is also. So, for example, there are a lot of times when large part of Christianity, especially over the last. I'm talking about, not just Christianity. In the last 10 years, a large part of what you can do, can't do comes from, clarity in terms of what to do, what not to do. In the sense that there is just this sense of knowing that, homosexuality is wrong. Whereas I grew up in a small town where no one could pinpoint and say, this is wrong. It was just feelings, and like people just went by the instinct on the idea of anything that doesn't resemble the norm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that is even more dangerous because there's no clarity. I mean, you can at least, for example, when you call it out and say, this scripture says this and this is bad, and you can say, fuck that, But a large part of, what happens in small towns is there is no conversation about these things. There is just this sense of you have let us down. And there is no explanation for it. There is no, like I was saying, there's no conversation. There's no concrete conversation about it. Because that kind of is so, that eats people up so much. I mean, I don't want to almost pit the small town versus big city experience against each other.
Not at all.
But it's just like, it's such a different experience when, for example, when what's looked down upon is effeminate characteristics. So that is, and there is nothing that says that it's wrong. There's nothing, nowhere does it say that it's not okay. And that becomes almost like a, you won't make us proud. You have to be a real man. And, and somehow it becomes less about religion and, more about, again, gender constructs. And, and somewhere down the line, it comes down to our choices. We make our personal, choices we make in terms of what we choose to, okay, and what we choose to say this is worth being hated. And I think that's a one commonality, whatever the experience might be, small town, big city, whatever. I think that one commonality is what, in an ideal world, we need to really, if we evolved into like a smarter species, which I doubt we will. If we do, though, and that's the hope, because I'm an eternal optimist. I just feel like we will need to get to a point where we look at all of these scriptures and say, if it is, at the end of the day, a human being wrote this. So if a human being wrote this, then it's totally possible that firstly, it's a product of their times. Secondly, he or she could have been wrong. Thirdly, if there are parts that really thrive on hatred and pulling someone down for what they are born with, then let's just like not look at it. You know what I mean? Yeah, I guess that's... What's your ideal like utopian scenario of religion?
Just one that doesn't make you feel that you lack something or what you're doing is wrong. Like, you know what I mean? Wrong means like, again, I wouldn't say like...
Makes you feel less than.
Less, no. Like, how do I say this, right? Like, sure, okay. There are certain things you don't do. Like, again, you don't fucking kill someone. You don't steal, maybe. I know those are nice things, right? But just if it's something that guilt trips you a lot and it's like a toxic friend, you know what I mean? Either establish what your relationship with that toxic friend is. And by toxic friend, I mean, in this case, religion. Like, either establish what your relationship with this person is and then know how to protect yourself, or just take the good bits from it and protect yourself, or discard it. Like, if it's not helping you grow, if it's just constantly putting you down or shaming you or making you feel bad. Even while having this conversation, you know what blew my mind? I just thought that, holy shit, like churches have confession boxes. You know what I mean? Like, it's such, as a concept, it is so bizarre. Like, that you wrong and then you go sit in a box and then you say you did this particular thing in the wrong way. And I feel like...
You know, I don't find that wrong at all.
No, I mean...
Like the main construct of it, I find it
Sure.
It's like saying, a shrink. It's like...
But the foundation is based on shame again, you know, and I'm anti-shame. Like, anything, because shame...
So here's the thing. I feel like the shame comes only if the person who's listening to you makes you feel shameful. If you feel that there is... Because for me, the confession box is not about, I have wronged. It's about feeling conflict. It's about what do I do when I feel this sense of tug where I did something and I don't know where I stand in terms of my action or my thought.
Maybe my instant view of it was very myopic. I get what you're saying.
Because I find it, because that's what we do with our strings, right? Like we do exactly that.
Yeah.
So
I just get to see him face to face.
Yeah, well.
Oh my God. But dude, can I say something totally unrelated though? Straight guys have caught on to us. Can I tell you? Because you said small town, and I have. So you know, ever since this lockdown started, Tinder has made this passport thing. Like suddenly, everyone on my Tinder is 3,000 kilometers away, 2,000 kilometers away, and okay, Sunetro, the story is for you. I started chatting with a boy in Ranchi.
Okay, then.
He's fucking hot, okay? Like, in the most cliche way. He's a total gym rat, got all the right muscles, like, he's never wears a shirt. Everything is great about him, okay? The other day, he sent me a friend request, okay? And we started chatting. Great, right? I'm trying to, like, sense if he's a little queer or no, but he's not letting down. Suddenly, one day, he's like, can you do me a favor? And I'm like, what is it? And he's like, can you share a story tagging my profile so that basically you get, you know, this S for S, followers for followers, snap for snap, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Where people just put up stories and tag each other so they get each other's followers, basically. So I said, listen, I don't do that. He's like, no, please do that for me. No, I was like, listen. And I found a good way to like test if he's into boys or no. I basically told him, you don't want that because I have tons of gay followers. Okay. So next thing you know, if I share your story, 1,000 gay boys will end up on your profile. Okay. Just to test if he's like, he'll be like, yeah, I love gay boys. Dude, you won't believe what his response was. His response was, dude, I'm straight, but I actually want gay boys. I want gay boys to follow me क्योंकि वो बहुत comment करते हैं और पेज का एक्टिवेशन और एंगेजमेंट अच्छा रहता है. That's exact. So basically, straight boys have caught on the gimmick. They know.
Well, it's queer baiting. That's what.
Yeah,
that's
obviously,
what it is.
Dude. But I was blown away how vocal he was about it. Like, oh, I love the engagement. Gay boys give my page. So I am straight, but please, I want gay boys on my profile. Abhi usko queer, if you say queer baiting in front of him, he'll be like, "Hai, wo kya hai?" You know what I mean? And I did the English version. I'll send you a screenshot of the chat. It was adorable. Like, I laughed the way he said it. Adorable is the wrong word. But I was like, holy shit, they have caught on. This has nothing to do with religion. I'm so sorry. But ever since you said Ranchi, I kept thinking about this boy. And I was like, why does Sunetro complain? Ranchi has some hottie.
All right then.
I'm so sorry. I feel stupid as I'm talking. Talk, Sunetro.
I think I'm.
Yeah.
I've said my piece on this, honestly, because like I was saying, my ideal version of religion is where there are a lot of things that religion has given birth to over time, which is art, culture, all of that, music, a lot of mythology and stories. As long as I like those parts to exist, and I love those parts, and if those parts exist, I think it's great. But I think the moment it starts making people feel less than about themselves, I think that's the time when I say maybe not. I think that's my
what you say is so important. Basically, you take it's an interpretation. Religion largely is an interpretation of what you make of it. And you just take the parts that help you grow and help you have faith and help you have belief and be better and all of that. And whatever part you feel doesn't make you feel like that, you just basically, that's the point you realize that a man wrote this. That was a long story short. But I get what you're saying. Like, that's the perfect way to end this conversation, which is where, hey, like, it's a personal relationship. Of course, we totally did not. We skimmed over the Hindutva gays, but I think we've spoken about them before. So we will give them more limelight. But you know what I mean? Sometimes I do question, like, how the fuck do staunch people like that exist, in the community? But fuck that. I'm just saying, it's a personal relationship. It's a relationship which can do great things for you if you take all the good stuff out of it. And that's about it. That's my 2 bits on it.
Yeah.
But okay.
Yep. So, I mean, on that note, I think we'll take leave and have another week of lockdown.
Go have his lovely Monday.
Whatever. But like, I think another week of lockdown, do whatever it takes. I'll, to kind of feel better.
Is it another week? I think it's another 2 weeks.
No, right? I mean saying this is the start to another week. So.
Okay. Oh, fuck. Okay. Wow. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even counting now. So it's like 1 week at a time.
I'm not, but it's freaky how much things are blending and now becoming one thing, because there are no highlights in life right now. I literally, sure, everybody jokes about, oh, is today Monday or Wednesday and all of that. But now it's literally, sometimes I type an entire message and before hitting send, I read it again and I realize that I've not even, fuck grammar, I have forgotten entire words, and I know it's something to do with this lockdown. I don't know how to make sense of it, but I'm just on severe autopilot in that sense. But that's also because I know I have it worse because of I'm in a containment zone, so it is worse for me than other people. Okay. Okay, bye. We'll talk to you guys soon. Please keep
messaging us.
Coming.
Yep. And you guys have a good week.
Okay.
Under the lockdown. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed that show. We'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Paytm Money. While we're still going through lockdown, let me recommend a few quick shows for you to listen to. Check out Uncle Please Sit with Joel and Tushar. Really enjoy that show. They unpack some of the greater issues that we're facing, and I think you'll enjoy that. Also, do check out The Traveling Professor. That's a fun show that I think you're really going to enjoy as well. Fulia Bazi is a great show. It's a Hindi show about policy and things like that. They had a great episode last week. A close friend of mine from college, Joy Paul, was the guest. They talk about different social networks being used for different things. Very cool show. And lastly, let me tell you about Simplified. Simplified did a live episode last week, and we're making the first part of that available on their feed right now. So do definitely check that out. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Thanks, and please do keep listening.
Beta, did you know 79% of all scientists in NASA are Indian only?
देखो, इंडिया में टैक्स सिर्फ मिडिल क्लास भरती है. Everyone is just enjoying free यार.
आजकल के youngsters are only interested in partying and enjoying. उनको देश की पड़ी ही नहीं है.
बेटा तुम बस शादी कर लो, उसके बाद तो you can enjoy life like anything.
I will tell you what this country needs. This country needs 15 years of dictatorship. That is the only way to become a superpower. See the Chinese, how much they've progressed.
सुनो, तुमने ये WhatsApp forward देखा?
So what's common between all of these statements?
They're all absolutely rubbish.
Fake WhatsApp forwards that spread like wildfire.
And statements that defy any logic.
They are here to debunk them all.
Way of family WhatsApp groups, worst nightmare. Where what happens when you read a book.
Basically, we're just a bunch of guys who want to cut through the bullshit of everyone saying this, how it won't be true.
So that the next time someone confidently squeezes out some WhatsApp or Twitter BS, you can look them dead in the eye and go, Uncle, please sit.
So join me, Joel.
And me, Tushar.
Every Mondays for a fresh new episode of Uncle, Please Sit.